Greetings once again. This is Dr. Jonathan Ellerby with another live 12 at 12. If you don't know my work, I encourage you to check out my website. You will find that I'm giving away a free book right now and discounts on some other things. Also, I welcome you to like my Facebook page and follow along. We're doing 12 at 12 every day, and then we're also doing an evening meditation every day. And then there are all kinds of other cool things going on, courses and classes, both that I'm doing through my own webpage and through the Althea Center Denver. So today's topic for the 12 at 12, what do you do when you can't do anything? And how do you accept what feels like the unacceptable? A lot of us are in a moment of major transition as the world is beginning to reconsider how each place, each locale and location is handling this coronavirus pandemic. And some businesses are going back to work and others are not allowed. And how do we make sense of that, right? How do we make sense of some businesses that seem vital and important to us that might be closed and obligated to close, and yet our neighbor can go and get a tattoo, and somehow that's maybe more important than getting certain kinds of food or medicine or personal services. It's confusing, and that's what it is. It's a confusing time. A lot of people are also facing the extremes of the emotional and financial stretch. Being at home, when you know you have to be home, it feels focused, it feels clear. But then what happens when some people start going out and some people don't, and we get mixed messages from media? It's so hard not only be distracted from our centeredness, from our balance by these changes and these confusions and discrepancies, but it's also very easy to let that confusion in and to feel our own frustrations growing, our own lack of certainty growing. So before we go any further into all this, let's get settled. And I'm going to invite you to close your eyes for a moment. I'm going to invite you to take a deep breath in and a big breath out, like a sigh. Big breath in and another sigh. Feel yourself settling down and slowing down. And then really concentrating on that exhale as you breathe out whatever no longer serves you, whatever you don't need in this moment. Just breathe it out, breathe it out, breathe it out. Feel yourself growing quieter. Feel your heart and mind slowing down. And then we turn to this beautiful reading from the 1700s, a great Japanese Zen monk. And I think he was writing about what we're going through. Ryokan wrote, "In all 10 directions of the universe, there is only one truth. When we see clearly, the great teachings are the same. What can ever be lost? What can be attained? If we attain something, it was there from the beginning of time. If we lose something, it is hiding somewhere near us. Look, this ball in my pocket. Can you see how priceless it is?" So some of you might be wondering, what the heck? How does this help me cope with the impossible? Okay, we'll get there. So if you're in a moment where you're facing just massive amounts of uncertainty and stress and a certain kind of paralysis from just not knowing where this is all going to go or what you can do next, the first thing we need to do is give ourselves permission to feel. Now that might sound obvious, but a lot of us, we try to present a strong face for other people. We try to control what we show and what we share. But if what you feel is just utter frustration, hopelessness, anger, trying to reframe it as something else, trying to pretend that you're positive, trying to pretend that you're optimistic, trying to pretend for your family and friends that you're not having these feelings is not going to be helpful. Emotions are an energy that need to be experienced and expressed, or they become locked up in our bodies and our minds, and then they work against us. Now, the trick with emotions, though, when you're facing something unacceptable or when you're facing something that feels impossible, is to understand that there's a very significant difference between allowing yourself to feel an emotion and allowing yourself to act on an emotion. Totally different. So, if I'm feeling angry because we spent months and the very few dollars we had in savings to build a travel company that we launched this year, and it was off to a great start, and then just before we, like literally 2 days before the trip that we, our first successful trip could be launched, I mean, we could actually get on the plane, everything was canceled. And all the money we were about to make for the year through this travel company, gone. And probably we're not going to see any of that in 2020. Now, if what I feel is angry, but what I say is, no, it's okay, I'm good, it's going to be fine, God closes one door and opens another. Hey, if you feel that, then that's good, that's great, that's wonderful. But you might think that and feel something else. So let's say I'm feeling anger about that. There's nothing to deny there. I can just be angry, and I can go out and kick all my delivery boxes and pound them into submission so they're flat and fit into my garbage. I can write a nasty letter to the universe. I can write an angry letter to the coronavirus. I can take some time with a friend or a family member and just tell them, look, I just got to get this off my chest. So experience and process. But to suddenly start acting from anger or making decisions out of anger, well, I'm never going to do this, or I'm going to quit that, or these people deserve, that's a different thing, okay? So whatever you're feeling, deep despair, sadness, anger, confusion, let yourself feel it. But let yourself feel it with spaciousness, and that means be with the feeling and don't worry about doing anything about it. That's big. The next step in our approach to facing the impossible is then to connect with support and nourishment. Support and nourishment. Support and nourishment means if you're feeling at the edge of your capacity to cope, reach out in whatever way you possibly can to whoever can lighten your load. So this is different than feeling your feelings or sharing them with someone. This might be, I need someone to order groceries for me. I need someone to put my trash can out for me. I need someone to give me an extension on a deadline. I need, right? So just real practical stuff. If you can find any source of venting the energy or the pressure, I should say venting the pressure that's building, do it. And when I say nourishment, I mean that when you're in this extreme heightened state of stress and anxiety or just plain old stuckness, this is an important time to look after yourself. And that means better sleep, better quality food. This is probably not the time to overdo drinking and junk food. Doesn't mean you can't have a little bit of those things, but heavily medicating yourself when you are on the edge of exploding, probably not the best way to go. Your judgment's going to be worse, and more significantly, what you don't want to do is diminish your immune system or your cognitive clarity, so when you wake up the next day, the whole thing just feels worse. Okay? So, feel to heal, process the emotions, ask for help, and nourish yourself. And then we go to the third thing, which is simplify your conditions and simplify your focus. Really, all these things lead to this. when you are literally up against the wall, and this might sound absurd, but I think it's a critical tool, critical perspective and step. Unplug. Unplug from all the sources of aggravation, stress, distraction, competition, comparison, and reconnect with the absolute essential elements of life. In short, go for a walk. Lay down in a park. Sit on your patio, in your garden. Simply cultivate stillness and silence. As Ryokan wrote in the poem, find your way back to that place in yourself that holds everything and that is unattached to the coming and going of anything. It's easier said than done, but what you'll realize is that when you're going into that moment of simplicity and self-centering, is not about solving a problem. Don't go into that with a goal. Don't go in that to fix something. Don't go in that for answers. You want to surrender into the timeless, spaceless quality of purely being in the present moment. From that consciousness, you will allow the beauty of life around you to shine. In the reading, remember, he says, I have this ball in my pocket. And how precious is that? It's saying you've got to find a way, after feeling, after asking for help, creating time for yourself, and then simplifying into a moment of centering. You've got to find a way to feel the purity of life beyond expectations, beyond what's next. You've got to simply tell yourself that that will come next. But first, I must reconnect to my source. I must renew my identity in spirit. I must feel the vastness of all life. And then what we know is that brings us a little energy, an experience of beauty, some calm, some optimism, and from there we can stand up and take things one step at a time. But there is a place in every one of us that is greater than anything we face, that is greater than anything that's been taken from us, greater than any threat, any fear. We've got to remember that place. And even though it might not wipe out the challenges, if we don't reconnect with that eternally resilient, centered place, then our minds are cloudy, our hearts are reactive, and facing the unfaceable becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. It gets worse and worse. It feels worse and worse. And we confirm and affirm the stuckness, the fear. When we reconnect with our root, when we reconnect with the vastness that is our sky, that is our earth, that is our human history, when we bring our attention into the simple stillness of the moment, we find the awareness that lets us breathe easier, engage the whole brain, engage the whole self, and maybe even make ourselves available for answers, hope, faith, intuition that we never even considered possible. So, we're out of time again, I'm certain. I'm grateful that you joined me. We'll do this again tomorrow. If you like this, please share it. And don't forget, I have a free book that I'd love you to receive. That's posted on Facebook and on my website. I hope you're well. I hope you find peace. And remember, ask for help and nourish yourself when things get tough. When things get tough, it's not the time to push. It's time to let go. Listen and restore your sense of balance and connection to the eternal center. Love you all. Bye-bye.